Big game this weekend. We spoke about the others. Man City versus Arsenal. But before we get into the game in itself, Ødegaard looks like he's going to miss a few months, Igal. How bad is that for Arsenal in the longer term if he's going to miss a couple of months?
It's going to be a miss. Obviously, Martin Ødegaard missing he's one of our better players. He's our captain. He's one of the main guys who keeps the ball ticking in the midfield. So we're going to have to find a way to try to keep the ball a little bit more and not be as sloppy as we were in the last game versus Tottenham. But overall, I think we can manage. I think Arteta's shown that what he could do versus Tottenham, and I'm pretty sure we could do that versus majority of teams. This game versus Man City, he's also going to be a miss. Majority of the big games from now until he's back, he's going to be a miss. But as long as he's back before that Liverpool Newcastle run that we have later in late October, I'm happy, and hopefully he comes back ready to go. I don't want a player risking further injury by coming back too soon. So take as long as he needs, and I think we should be able to weather the storm until he comes back, Terry.
Do you echo that, Giuseppe? It's a loss, but it's something that you just almost need to put to the back of your minds and focus on the games.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, nothing we say or do now is going to change the fact that he's injured. So we just got to get on with it. Hopefully players like Wanyeri can step up. He's got a chance now. He's got a chance to really get in that team and make a little name for himself this season. Trossard can do something in that position. Listen, I try and look at positives with all this stuff. It's hard when you've got your skipper out injured. The only positive is if we can ride the storm and carry on picking up good points and that and stay in there with City, it's a huge boost coming into that Christmas period. Getting Ødegaard back can almost bring a lease of life back to Arsenal. You know, like sometimes in the Christmas period, it starts getting a bit like going day by day. Last year, that's the New Year period is where we actually lost the league, really. Around that period, Boxing Day to New Year's, all that. I think we lost 3 games or dropped points in 3 games there last season. So if we could get Ødegaard back for that sort of period, it's going to be a huge boost for the team. I think he's important. I don't think that any one player should dictate us capitulating. Obviously, a lot does go through him. I'd argue that he's one of our most important players because I think so much attacking goes through him. But yeah, listen, I don't know. It's annoying because it's international. It always hurts more. It always stings that little bit extra when the player gets injured in international because I hate international. And I think that 3 weeks into the Premier League, they've already got to go international break. And then you see your players getting injured. It just pisses you off.
Sorry, I've just got to find in there for you there.
No, it's just annoying. But listen, it is what it is. Ødegaard will come back stronger. He always does when he goes out injured. And I think we'll be all right. The game on the weekend, obviously, it's going to be a miss. I think he was a big miss against Spurs. So we'll see in it. But the games like the Bournemouth games, the Southampton games, I don't think we need Ødegaard to beat these teams. I'll be honest.
Giuseppe, you say that, but in the last 2 years, when you've played a lot of these games, these are the games where you've slipped up in. Southampton 3-3 at the Emirates, losing at Fulham at Craven Cottage, being 2-1 up with 9 minutes to go with Fulham having 10 men. They equalise. I think Arsenal away from home this season will get, and you got to hear me out on this, I think you'll get more points than you do at the Emirates. Because when you go away from home, because you're so solid defensively and you've got a game plan which is to everyone hold position, counter-attack with that pace, like you did against us, like you did against Villa. The games that you have played at home, I mean, I think you dropped more points at the Emirates last year than you did away. You've already dropped points at the Emirates this season. I just think there's almost this confidence. You're going in, we're at home, yep, 3 points. When you're away from home, it's like, stick to the game plan and we'll win. The only game you can't really do that is Anfield and the Etihad, because you're up against the 2 other teams that are equally just as strong. But every other team in the league, I believe Arsenal can win at their away ground. However, there's this arrogance. I'm not saying it's you or a gal, but you can see there's an arrogance in your play that sometimes you don't necessarily get going until 30, 35 minutes. Look at the last game of last season against Everton. I know there was a hell of a lot riding on it, but you weren't as clinical as you normally are.
Yeah, no, I hear it. There is listen, at the end of the day, when we're more open at home because we go for it more at home. When you're away, when you're away, you sit back a bit more and you're like, let's let them have the first bit of game and then we'll just get into the game when we get into the game. But you know what? I just have this feeling. I know it's just me and it's just hope or whatever. Like, I really have this feeling that Wanyeri's going to really step up when Ødegaard's not here. I'm not maybe not in the games against like man. I'm not saying he's going to be like the guy against Man City that's going to think, but these games like Southampton, these games like Bournemouth, these games like Leicester, I think he's going to really perform in them. And we'll wait and see. Listen, I'll be here if he does, and I'll be here if he doesn't. I think Trossard as well in the 10 can do something. I feel like people just... I think Arteta knows what he's got to do. Arteta wouldn't have let the players go. That's the one thing with Arteta. I know I'm frustrated, and I don't. And once again, this goes down to the facts of me not rating our transfer window because, again, something's happened and injuries happened that's now depleted our team in a position where I don't think we got much backup. But Arteta's obviously seen something in someone, and I think it's Wanyeri, to say, I'll let Smith Rowe go. I'll let Vieira go on loan. Because I know if Ødegaard don't play, who's playing in that position? And it might be Trossard.
What do you think Wanyeri's going to do? Because I think a lot of people are not overhyping. I don't think that's the right word. But Ødegaard's best work is actually off the ball. The amount of times he wins it back, the amount of times he leads the build-up off the ball, making those runs, then playing that dime. Wanyeri looks quality on the ball. But where he's going to be judged is that work rate off of it. If Wanyeri comes in and he looked, I think he only had 10 touches against us, but he looked a player. Okay. You could tell by his posture. But what he's doing off the ball, that's when he's going to get judged. Because if he plays tonight, which I think he will feature, and you're going up against the Cities, the Leicesters, the Southamptons, the PSGs without him, you're asking him to do a hell of a lot of work. I mean, Ødegaard won the ball back more from a number 10 than any other 10 in the league. He won the ball back 41 times last year. That's a hell of a lot to put on a 17-year-old.
It's a lot, but I think that what happens is people will have to pick up. Everyone will have to pick a bit up of his work. We might even have to play a different style. Arteta might have to tweak a few things. Listen, Havertz also does a lot of work up there. And I think he will continue to do a lot of work. He had the most touches for Arsenal in the game against Spurs. He does a lot of tracking. He does a lot of running. I think that's what's going to have to happen. Wanyeri is going to be able to give the energy that Ødegaard gives. The knowledge of what to do, he might lack a bit because he's young. Like Ødegaard might know better when to press, when not to press, when to go in, that sort of thing. But I think energy-wise, this kid will give it. And I'm not even saying it's going to be him. I'm just saying it might be Trossard, But listen, you're going to lose him.
Giuseppe, you talk about mentality and energy. What about actual quality, technical ability?
Ethan has quality.
They have quality.
The same extent as Ødegaard?
No, but we ain't going to have that. But this is it. He's injured. It's like, I'm not saying any of these guys are going to replace Ødegaard because you can't really replace someone of Ødegaard's level. We can't really, in my opinion, we can't even sign
That's
someone.
what I'm saying. What are you expecting out of Wanyeri?
1 second. Let me just jump in here, Giuseppe. Why is it that when somebody goes down injured, you need to have a like-for-like replacement? As a manager, I trust Mikel Arteta to find a solution similar to what he did against Tottenham for how we're going to play for the foreseeable future. Against certain teams, we're going to have to be a little bit more attacking, and maybe you're going to see a Jorginho in the 6. Against teams like City, you're going to probably see a Declan Rice in the 6 or a Partey in the 6 playing a little bit more defensive football. And who we're going to have in the 10 is going to dictate how we're going to try to unlock teams. There's going to be certain teams that are going to go at us, and there's going to be certain teams that are going to be very defensive. Depending on who we play, Mikel Arteta is going to have different horses for different games. And that's just the situation. I don't know if that's the analogy, but I messed it up once again.
Listen, Arteta could come out against City and say, listen, I'm going to play Jorginho, Rice and Partey as a 3 in the midfield and go like super haram. Yeah, super defensive. You don't know what he's going to do. The thing is, the way we play right now, everything goes through Ødegaard, right? That's the style. Now that might have to be tweaked. We might have to come up with different game plans. Arteta might have to go, you know what, we're going to do using the overlaps a bit more. We're going to have to use the inverting it differently. Do you know what I mean? We've got options. That's the thing.
One thing One thing, Giuseppe, we need to improve the way we hold on to the ball. So maybe because Trossard was playing in the midfield, that was why we were probably poor on the ball. But with Declan Rice, Jorginho, and Partey, we probably hold on to the ball a little bit more.
Igao, do you think you can change formation?
100%. We do in games. There's games where
I'm saying, like, do you think you could start off the game because you've got so many defensive options that you could if you wanted to. I mean, you've got good enough quality midfield.
So
I think the way we play
as a segue, guys, because again we've naturally segued into the game. So I think in terms of the Ødegaard stuff, I think we can kind of put down now. We'll go into the preview element of this game, like, and start off with that point of view. There, how are you feeling about it? Because it's not been a great stomping ground for you, but of course you've improved massively. How are you feeling ahead of this weekend's game?
I've forgotten about all the games that we played before last season. Literally, that's what I've taken all those games before last season out of my head. Starting last season, preseason, when we played against them in the Community Shield, that's the most foreseeable future. That's the furthest I'll go back to remembering games that we played against City. And I feel like in the last 3 games that we played against City, we've been a formidable side. We've stopped Erling Haaland from scoring in 3 games versus Arsenal. And even though they've attacked us, we've shown the defensive nouns to be able to keep them at bay. So I do think we're going to go to the Etihad. We're going to be confident that we're going to have a good defensive performance, and it's going to be on us to see if we can even get a lead. And if we do get a lead, I back us to hold on to it and potentially come out of there with a win. But we're not going to go toe to toe with City. We're not going to play their game. We're going to play our game. And if if Hamza comes on here and says the shame, how shameful, I don't care. Because the reality situation is we're there to win by any means necessary, and other teams used to come to our ground and know that there was only one way they were going to leave that ground with a win. And I really do believe going away to City, that's probably the one way we're going to beat them. Defensive football, beating them at a game which we are better than them at. Defending wise, we're a better defensive team than them, and try to catch them out, be it a set piece or on a counter. And from there, I think we can hold on to it. If they give us a lead, we're winning that game.
Do you think Inter Milan almost showed that blueprint last night? Go there, defend in solid banks of 4, don't allow very much space at all, Giuseppe, and then whether it's a counter or a set piece, that's where you're going to punish City.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that will probably give Arsenal players a bit of confidence seeing that result, saying like, look, the Etihad, Inter went there, kept a clean sheet. We done it last season. We can do it again. Will it be that easy? Sometimes it winds me up that happened with Inter, because it kind of, sometimes I feel like when that happens, it almost kicks City's ass to say, oh, hey, Arsenal, we need to step it up a bit more. We can't be lackadaisical. But 100%, that's the way you go. Agal was right as well. You go toe to toe. I don't care what any City fan wants to say. You go toe to toe with City at the Etihad, you lose the game. But let's be honest.
We did.
You didn't go toe to toe with them.
Yeah, we did.
You drew.
No, we didn't. We went toe to toe with them, beat them 3-2.
No, you get peppered that they
Oh,
don't
you're
score
talking about
goals,
back in the day, like Champions
No,
League.
but I'm talking about back in the day. We're talking about 2 seasons ago.
You didn't go at them.
It's your
We did go at them.
That'd be a very
under Antonio Conte.
Yeah,
Henry, you got peppered.
No
you got
way.
peppered that they didn't put away their chances.
Under Ange last season, we went at them and come back with 4 fullbacks without a defeat. We had Ben Davies playing centre back in a back 4.
By the way, that's a chaotic game. We're not trying to play a chaotic 4-0.
Yeah, of course it is, but I'm choosing it as an example.
And
let's have a look at it. So when you beat them, when did you beat them? When was the game? Was it 3-2? You beat them?
Yeah, Kulusevski's debut, February 2022.
Hang on. Sorry, is that the game that you're talking about where you played them and? Is that the game I'm talking about?
The game we played them where we took the games to City was the 3-3 draw. But I'm saying it can be done beating them was when we beat them 3-2.
Okay,
and I think the approach they'll play is the one we did where you sit back and counter. That's what we did in that defeat.
So I'm just going back to the game. So the game where you beat them 3-2, it was 21 shots to 6 in the game, 71% of the ball to them to 28.
That's
the game where you drew 3-3 with them, again, it was 55% of the ball to 45%. So you had more possession, but it was still 17 shots to 8. In fairness, what made that game so different? It was 4 shots each on target in that match. So I wouldn't
necessarily as well in that game.
No, I understand it's not a good team. I understand it's not a good team. As in, like defensively, who you played and stuff like that. However, you are kind of one of Man City's bogey teams. If we're being fair, you'd say that. So, and I think as football, this is where stats go out the window for me. This is one element where stats mean very little. Certain teams, certain clubs play each other. I don't think it's the way Spurs have beaten City in recent years. I think if other teams turn up and played that way, even if they're better than Tottenham, they get battered. It's almost like a styles make fight situation. And Arsenal should not try and copy anything Spurs have done against City in the last 5 years, because I just think Arsenal will get battered if they do that. And that's not a dig at Tottenham or Arsenal. It's just, I don't think that's the blueprint is you have got to be hard to break down, stifle them. And we've seen Brentford be very unlucky the other day, really, not score more goals on the counter-attack against them. Again, if both Brentford and Milan had better finishing on the day, I think they would have both beaten Man City. City would be on back-to-back defeats. So, I mean, Arsenal have got a very good chance in this game. But the key thing is, and this is the question, I want to throw to the Kate first. Can they keep Haaland quiet? Or will they do it? Is more the question. Will they?
We've done it 3 times.
It's such. Why are you doing? Just let someone else speak for a second. There you go. You can have your say in a minute. Don't be too sensitive. Listen, they can keep him quiet without a shadow of a doubt. I think we're building this up to be such a big game, and it always ends up being such a letdown. I never enjoy these games. They're always so cagey, and I know that's probably because they're good. But I like a crazy, chaotic game. That's me. I think it's going to be 1 or 2-0 to City. I think they will beat Arsenal, even though Arsenal are well capable of beating them. I've just got a feeling that, well, we know that Arsenal are a bit of bottlers, so there's that. But you've also got to take into account that City are still Man City. They're playing at home. They're, Haaland's absolutely flying. So I want it. I want City to beat him in a way because of fans like Ødegaard, that he needs a little bit of a humbling. I've got no problem with so many Arsenal fans, but Ødegaard is far too cocky for my liking. So I hope they get humbled.
There's a difference between cocky and confident.
Yeah, but you're both.
No, I'm not.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal win. I wouldn't be surprised if City win. I know that's really sitting on the fence, but that's how I feel. They're both capable of beating each other. If I had to put money on it, I'm going with City to beat them 1 or 2-0.
Terry, did you say that Tottenham, that game in 2021, had 0 shots to 21?
No, 2022, we beat them. We had 35% possession. We had 6 shots, 4 on target. But the following year, last year, we had 45% possession.
Do you realize you can only do that? You can only do that because you have clinical finishers like Son and Kane in your team.
Kane wasn't inside that year.
No, but 2021, 2022, when you won 3-2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I get that.